Hello, everyone. This is Keith here with the Wired Nerdy Podcast and another dive into retro gaming history. And today, we're locking, loading, and stepping into the grim, gritty world of The Punisher. Now, not the Netflix series, not the 2004 movie, and definitely not the 80s Dolph Lundgren flick. No, we are rewinding all the way back to 1990 with The Punisher DOS video game. Yeah, it's real, and we're going to talk about it. So The Punisher for DOS was developed by Paragon Software and published by Microprose Software, which are better known for military sims like Civilization, Gunship, and XCOM UFO Defense, which makes it kind of a weird detour into the Marvel Universe, right? Released in 1990, this game was one of the very first attempts to bring Marvel's ultra-violent anti-hero into the video game world. Microprose didn't exactly have a resume filled with side-scrolling shooters or action beat-em-ups, so their take on the Punisher was a bit different than what you may expect from somebody like a Capcom or a Konami. The game itself is part action shooter and vehicle sim. You actually start in Frank Castle's war van, roaming the streets of New York, choosing missions from a map so that you can make money, sort of like a proto-open-world hub. Then you're dropped into a level with the top-down shooter experience. Think Hotline Miami or the OG Grand Theft Auto. Now, I distinctly remember one of the more challenging aspects of the game was navigating New York City by reading the map and driving the war van to your different mission locations. And things were timed so that you had to complete the mission, stop the bank robbery, whatever you needed to do. And that made it especially difficult. Armed with a Uzi and a bottomless pit of rage, you mowed down criminals across subways, warehouses, and seedy blocks. You've got grenades, body armor, and you can even upgrade your gear between missions. For its time, it was actually a very ambitious game, and there was an element of strategy on when to use what gear, and of course, you had to be able to kill the bad guys and not innocent people. Graphically, let's say it's DOS, it's 1990, and well, when I played it, I was stuck at EGA, which was limited to 16 colors on my grandpa's Tandy 1000 computer. So think big pixels, limited color palettes, and stiff animation. Heck, Frank Castle kind of looks like a buff accountant in body armor. However, they did do a lot with the resources that they had, and the mini cutscenes and images are faithful to the Marvel comics. Now, it did support VGA at 256 colors if you were lucky enough to have a beast of a gaming rig for that era. When it comes to the sound, we're talking simple PC effects, gunfire that kind of sounds like static farts, and explosions that buzz like an angry modem. Lots of bleeps and bloops, but hey, you weren't here for the sound immersion. You were playing it because you were 10 years old and the Punisher was cool. Let's talk about the critical reception. Critics at the time were mixed. Computer Gaming World called it a decent game with some promise, but not really on par with other action titles. The first-person driving vehicle sections were criticized for being clunky, and the top-down action didn't wow reviewers. But fans of the comic gave it a little love for being something Punisher-related at that time, when Marvel games were still finding their footing. And let's be real, if you were a comic book kid with access to a PC in 1990, you didn't have a lot of options. So The Punisher at least gave you a taste of vigilante justice, and sometimes that was enough. In hindsight, the Punisher DOS game is kind of a forgotten curiosity. It didn't redefine action games, it didn't spawn a franchise. It did mark an early attempt to bring Marvel's darker characters to gaming and paving the way for better adaptations down the road. Now, if you're a fan of The Punisher or a collector of obscure Marvel games, this one's worth firing up in DOS box and just seeing how far we've come. but don't expect a Max Payne with a skull logo on this experience. Well, that's it for this retro review. If you enjoyed this trip into obscure comic book gaming history, hit a like and share with a fellow nerd, and subscribe to the Wired Nerdy podcast to check out the long form content that we have. We have other reviews you can check out, and just random geekiness altogether. And remember, in the world of DOS games, justice always comes in about 256 colors. Stay nerdy, everyone.